Hi, this is Brennan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Joel and Adam. Today we're going to be talking about the sequel to the heroic trio, Executioners. This is a 1993 film directed by Johnny To and Ching Swee Tung. It also stars Maggie Cheung, Michelle Yeoh, and Anita Mui. Set years after the first film, following a nuclear explosion that collapsed society and made water scarce, Executioners pits the heroic trio against a deformed madman controlling the water supply and a general who are both trying to seize control from the president. I don't know, does that encapsulation get the plot in your opinion, or I miss anything there?
That's pretty good, right? I mean, most of the other stuff is like more into personal drama, so I think that's the overarching plot.
Yeah, that's the overarching.
Framework.
It's and yeah, what was your reactions? Because I think both of you, this is your first time seeing it. I know that Heroic Trio was a big hit, so I'm curious how this one compares in your minds.
It is as much more post-apocalyptic between sequels as The Road Warrior was for Mad Max.
I'd say more. It would be because the first movie wasn't even post-apocalyptic at all. The Heroic Trio, right? It was like still.
It sounds like exactly the same amount to me.
Well, but in Mad Max, society's starting to slip into chaos. Do you know what I mean? Like
they had drinking water in the first movie.
They did. They had water.
That's a good point.
But it is similar in that you jump from that to total.
They're both they're both, there's politically volatile situations going on in both. You can go with that. But,
and also in this one, it's a little unclear how extensive we know there was a nuclear war, but they just mentioned the city, so we know the city. Everything's nondescript. It's kind of like almost like a comic book city. Do you know what I mean? It's like we just know how things are impacting the city. We have no real sense of how it impacts the broader world. If the president is the president of the city or of
the
a
synopsis,
bigger country.
The synopsis on Amazon referred to the city as Hong Kong, and I'm like, okay, well, I know they made this in Hong Kong, but was it ever established this city is actually Hong Kong?
And it may have been in the Hong Kong version, but in the subtitles that we got, I don't think it's ever clear what city it is.
It's kind of better, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, these are very comic booky movies, so having it just be the city,
the city, the president, that's exactly what you want, right? Because I don't really care what the exact geopolitics of this world is. I just care that they need the water, and only Kung Fu can get it for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think this one held up compared to the first one, by the way?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Adam?
I like the first one better, I think, but it's not that I dislike this. I just kind of, I don't know. It seemed to flow a little better than this. Like this one felt like in the middle, it kind of dragged a little bit, but not enough that I didn't enjoy it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think this one's more draggy than the first one. I do think the first one is a tighter film. This is one that the more I watch it, the more I like it. But I think it takes a little bit longer to get. We'll get into this later, but again, it's a little bit more on the interpersonal drama and on the politics, and it also does this thing where it separates all the characters and has to bring them together. So it kind of has to take its time in order to do all that.
Well, it literally does the thing that almost every superhero movie series does, where it's like, it's the second movie. We've got to have Wonder Woman not be Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
It's like Superman 2, Spider-Man 2. It's like, here's the movie where they don't want to be the hero you came to see.
Let's talk about that, because in this one, the difference is Michelle Yeoh is the one who's fully on board with being a hero. And Wonder Woman has become domesticated. She's given up being Wonder Woman in order to raise her daughter. And it's literally. What was that?
She's doing the bewitched thing. She promised her husband she wouldn't use her magic. So
and so it's kind of a bummer in a way, because she's and once in a while she's using it to help people get a drink of water or something really minor. But she's not. The city is in peril, and she's not. It's almost selfish of them to withhold all of her amazing abilities from the situation.
It does seem a bad time to stop being a hero.
About 2/3 through the movie, when they were dragging the little kid through the post-apocalyptic wasteland, I had a thought, and it is, Wonder Woman picked the worst time to have a kid, and that's 9/10 of the plot of this movie. So that was an aspect of it for me where I was like I'm a father. Usually it's really easy to tug on my heartstrings, but the first movie killed a baby, and this movie kept one alive, and I like the first movie more.
I feel like so the whole imperiled child thing. So she has a daughter, and the daughter is part of what makes a lot of the tension in the movie is that they're taking the child with them, and there's always danger, and you're always worried that, because you know what happened in the first movie where died.
I will say that informs a lot of the tension in this movie, and I also like that the person that is most primarily keeping the daughter alive is the one who let the baby die in the last one. It's like, okay, this is her redemption arc then.
Well, and obviously it's like it's a little bit odd that she's taking her on that quest for water, because that's like such a dangerous thing. But but I didn't mind that part of the plot. I thought that worked. I liked the idea that somebody's trying to have a family and normalcy during all of this, because that does kind of take it to Mad Max territory, where
I will admit
to Mad Max. I just found myself being so resentful against the Damien Lau character, which I don't like, because Damien Lau he's got one of these like faces that's so likable. Do you know what I mean? So
I really liked him in the first movie a lot, and I agree with you. In this movie, I was like, I'm not feeling the same character here.
They took him from "I will selflessly support you" to "You will sacrifice to support me and my kid," which is like the exact opposite character.
Well, not only that, but I'm gonna focus on my career, which is propping up this corrupt general, and I guess at one point assassinating that religious leader. There's this brief moment where he tries to assassinate the guy, right? So, it's he's not as likable this movie. He's very
nowhere near as likable.
Yeah. No, like I said, he's not. It's just not. It's not just unlikable. It's just not consistent either. Is really the thing that got me. I was like,
Right. This is supposed to be a family man. Now he's this like career obsessed dude, like sacrificing his family and his superhero wife for his stupid career, which it's clear he's being made into a patsy. Like, just would have went to his wife and been like, "Hey, look, they're trying to get me to assassinate that religious leader. We need Wonder Woman to return. I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad for a little while." You know, like
that's
right.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right, because that was the thing. It's like there was really good communication between the two in the first one. It felt like this really healthy relationship between them, and that was not in this movie at all. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, they definitely went a different direction with the dynamic in the household.
That wasn't messed up. I dislike that more than I dislike the kid being present every scene. Because, I mean, redeeming quality of that kid, she is pretty adorable. Like, they actually...
I like the kid, yeah. In a lot of movies, the kid could have been the thing that ruined the movie. But, she was adorable.
They didn't go full Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, they didn't do that sort of thing where they gave her too many lines that were beyond the scope of what a kid should have in a movie. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So, what she did was complain...
Yeah.
Tell people that she missed the parent that wasn't there, and blame other people for her problems. So as a parent, I got to tell you, it's exactly how kids be. Like,
and now the relationship I did like is I liked Michelle Yeoh's character's relationship with Gao. I thought that was very interesting that they brought him back.
I thought Gao died in the last movie.
He did, but I mean, again, it's like, well, but he was impervious to death, right? Like that was his whole thing. Is he was like, I don't know. He didn't seem vulnerable to death in the same way that other characters in the movie.
Well, if anyone could come back from the ass kicking he took, then it would have been Gao. So I get that. For the longest time, I thought it was just some random post-apocalyptic mutant that she had befriended.
Yeah,
because he's clearly more mutilated than the first movie.
Well, he's got like a hunchback and everything.
Yeah, no, he's all messed up.
But but I think that's injury from the last.
That makes sense.
But even at the end, when she tries to use the whistle to summon him, I think even she thinks, oh, maybe he survived getting exploded. Like. But I thought that was a touching scene. She's like all sad, and just like Michelle Yeoh had a very great arc in this.
No, she was fantastic in this. I'm dwelling on the negative here, but this was a really good movie.
Yeah,
I actually really greatly enjoy it.
on the kid thing, I kind of got one more point just to jump backwards, talking about the kid. In the early part of the movie, I was like almost convinced that kid was going to die. It was like I was
too.
Up till that scene where the husband gets shot. That was like that. I don't. After that scene, I was kind of like, okay, I kind of feel like they're just gonna let this kid live. But every scene she was in before that, I was like, what's gonna happen?
You know what happened to the baby, so you're like,
yep.
this is on the table with this franchise.
Yeah.
I also like the unexpected way they brought Wonder Woman back. So it would have been kind of cliche to have just, oh, your kid's dead, now you don the mask again. No, kid survives, and she finds a whole different way of putting the mask back on, which was really cool.
Yeah, I liked that. Go ahead.
I like that she's in prison and she's making something for a long time. And you're like, what's she making to escape? And it's like, oh, I just can't escape till I have a new mask. It's like she had to spend all that time making a mask before she could just kick the door open.
Well, I liked the way they did that with the prison. I like that they stayed their hand, even on the theme music for the Heroic Trio. They made you wait until she kicked that door down and like things were sort of back in action. And what I think that did is then when they had like the confrontation with the general, it just really was like this spectacularly cathartic moment.
Oh yeah, the end of this movie is explosive catharsis. The whole third of this movie, the whole last third, it's just one kick-ass scene after the other. So the last third of this movie is worth the first 2/3, even if you're kind of dragging to the first 2/3. Honestly, I think I agree with Adam's assessment. I think the middle third of it drags a little bit, but it's not terrible. I think that's kind of the smallest chunk of the movie overall, and it's got a pretty strong opening, and the explosive ending is really worth it. They took all the fun from the last ending, and they kind of stretched it out, but they didn't lessen it somehow. So that last third is really, really cool.
They amped it up. Like, spoilers, in the last one, like Michelle Yeoh is getting, like, hammered by the what's the eunuch from the first one, and in this one there's a lot of similar type beats in that combat, but then she gets like impaled with a fist, and you're like, well, there's no you see that, you're like, there's no coming back from that. They clearly are and then she blows him and herself up.
The second she got hit by that explosive arrow, I was just like, okay, she's going to die setting that explosive off at some point. I was honestly disappointed that wasn't what killed him. I felt like that didn't even do anything.
It blew his arm off, dude.
Okay, it did.
It gave them the moment they needed in order to make him.
Critically weakened him.
Yeah.
No, I'm cool with the explosion blowing off his arm. That feels about right,
And then it gave you the moment where they're like venting all their anger on him. Do you know what I mean? So
that's true. That's true.
Punching him right in the stump.
Yeah. What did you guys think of Mr. Kim as a villain? He was a very unusual guy. He dresses in like 18th century European jacketry, right? Like he's got
jacketry.
He's got like the frilly sleeves and like you said he was like Phantom of the Opera, like he's just disfigured. Exactly. He's got a mask and he's a weirdo. He's like a real weird guy.
He's a very Mad Maxy villain when you think about it. I also love that his kung fu isn't really explained. He's already got like a disciple who's got the same kind of kung fu, and it's just this crazy invincible fist style. That's really neat. I mean, like, okay, so wuxia films, like your superpowers are your kung fu, right? Just like in a superhero comic, like your superpowers or whatever, like eye beams or whatever. And so like it gave him a lot of character that they gave him his own kung fu. Because for a while I was like, ooh, is this whole thing the explosive arrows? Yeah. I hope that's not what he's got to offer.
Just lingering in the background, firing explosive arrows at people and going,
He's legitimately, to me, like his voice in the subtitled version sounded like the fake voice you'd give him if you were doing like a Kung Pao or the fist thing. Yeah, it's me. I'm so evil.
But I thought he sounded like an anime character. That's kind of
definitely. But like not a great anime. like one of those like mid '90s.
But I gotta say, I like this bad guy. I like how weird he is. I like that he's keeping all these heads in the boxes, and there's a mysterious box for a head that he's not even sure whose head goes in the box.
Might be for me.
Yeah.
Meeny, miny, mo.
Like the general just realizes how crazy he is when he.
I love that scene because it shows the general's face, and he's got this look on his face, like, "Oh no, what have I done? What have I gotten involved with here?" But he's actually a really good villain. He's politically very dangerous. He's physically very dangerous. He's present in the whole movie in the same way that the really good villain in the first one was very present in the whole movie, behind the shadows, manipulating things, which is a very wuxia way to do a villain. So I liked him a lot. I think he's a great successor to the fantastic eunuch villain in the first one.
And the eunuch villain's like more ferocious and serious, and this guy is more like chewing on the scenery, creepy weird. Like there's like a goofy quality to him, but it works. And I don't know. I just get like the costuming, like the jacket. The jacket is like I'm just
the jacket and the little Phantom of the Opera mask, like everything. It comes together really nicely with the character.
It makes you wonder about him. Like, where did he get this jacket? Why did he? Why?
There's so many questions. Well, I mean, he's really rich. He's totally deformed. He's got a weird sense of style and a really strange personality. He's got a really powerful kung fu. What is with this dude? He's a savage, three folks.
I guess when your martial arts are that good, you can wear what you want. It doesn't really matter. It's just like, if you like 18th century jackets, you can wear 18th century jackets.
It had kind of a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure energy to it. I don't know if you guys are fans of that, but there's a lot of weird fashion in that cartoon and comic.
Joel, you mentioned that this was kind of a soap opera.
Definitely.
Of sorts.
I've been watching Twin Peaks, as you know, and so my brain is attuned to the energies of the soap opera. And the first few seasons of Twin Peaks were very soap opera. The third one is a very different animal, but the first two were very much soap operas. And like this definitely has the same kind of energy where it's like they turn up the drama just a little bit past ridiculous about like everything, and I don't know. In some ways, I kind of like that because you need something that adheres together the comic booky elements and the post-apocalypse elements and the wuxia elements into something like those don't quite cohere, but melodrama unites all of them. So that's like the one sphere in the middle of the Venn diagram they can all dip into, right? So on the one hand, I think it's necessary and I don't dislike it. On the other hand, it does seem kind of, I don't know, wacky. How much drama is in this sometimes?
I mean, the thing is, I think the issue. Well, I commented in the last movie. I felt it was kind of soap opera-ish, and as I said, it's soap opera-ish in the way that comic books are soap opera-ish, but comic book movies usually aren't. And but yeah, I mean, I think the problem with the soap opera elements in this go back to what we were saying about like the husband and stuff. It's like I mean, if there'd been some kind of thing going on with the family that felt more connected to the husband as we knew him in the previous movie, I think it would have worked better. It's not so much that I didn't like that it had soap opera elements as much as some of those were the elements of the movie I didn't like were part of the soap opera type plot, I think is where my issue comes in.
I can see that. Yeah, it's like kind of like in the stage of Days of Our Lives where they've kind of twisted and untwisted so many times that even the writers kind of have forgotten what the
characters are. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, And I liked the soap opera. I mean, I do agree they changed like we were complaining about Damon Lau just a moment ago. And they definitely changed that character. I don't mind that change. I just meant that I was like, normally I don't like to resent Damon Lau. I like him to be a good guy. Yeah. He's somebody you want to root for. And he's not like a bad guy in this film. He's just a little more, of a husband who's sort of in control of the household and not really letting Wonder Woman, do her thing.
Well, I mean, is the assassin guy that's going to take out.
Well, that too.
Because the other thing that I like the fact that guy genuinely was a good guy who was being used by the villain. That was a nice element of the early part of the movie when that was
cool.
Revealed.
But I I think what they were trying to do, because the opening of the movie, they talk about how it's, Darwin's principle, survival of the fittest. And I keep mentioning that movie, The Blade, which is, I think it was done in like 95 or something, a couple of years after this. But it's post-apocalyptic set in historical China, basically. And it's a similar type of idea. So like just what humans become when it becomes about survival. And I think that was sort of the idea here was they have a kid, and because she's Wonder Woman, he wants her to take care of. They don't explain it well, but I think he wants her to take care of her and be the mother to raise her so that she's safe during the apocalypse. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that's why she gives up. It's sort of like she forsakes the world to focus on her child, kind of a thing.
I get.
But
I don't know if they wanted to do that. That kid should be learning kung fu.
Yeah,
well, we don't know exactly where Wonder Woman got her powers from, but I'm pretty sure it was kung fu. So.
Well, and she apparently taught her to swim, so you would think, teach her how to.
No, she didn't, because later on, when they get to the water, like the girl says, "I don't know how to swim," and the guy says, "I don't know how to swim."
But then she's swimming. But then we see her.
Yeah, that's because she just had the little demonstration.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She does the 30-second move your legs like this and your arms like this.
Okay, that's how all you need to learn things. I would like to point out that the reason she learned that is probably because she's Wonder Woman's daughter. Like the two people in that scene are a kung fu master and the daughter of a kung fu master. So
that's
they
true.
pick stuff up pretty quickly.
Yeah, that poor guy. I really liked the love arc that Maggie Chung was getting, right? And she he gets crushed by the wheel on the or not the wheel, the gate. I think it was. But they kind of had a little bit of chemistry, I thought.
That early scene where she's stealing the truck and he shows up. That was one of the better early scenes in the movie.
Well, there's like 18 plots in this movie. That being one of them, it was one of the stronger ones.
Yeah.
Well, I did like how much time Maggie Chung got in this one.
I feel like she's a solid character, and she really carried this movie in a lot of ways. I think that her action scenes were some of the most interesting and tense. Her character has matured in a very interesting way by this movie. Like, she's still the same character. She's still kind of a scoundrel, but she has this more sophisticated air about her. I don't know. Like, there's so much. I in that early scene where they're discussing, like, okay, it's going to be 50-50, no, 70-30. Like, that whole thing, it doesn't end in, like, savage bloodshed like it probably would have ended when she was younger. Because she was, like, really devil-may-care. But in this one, she's like, I'm just going to take a small L here. It'll be fine. 60-40 is still pretty good. Like, it just shows this sort of, like, this changing of her perspective. And they make her the mother figure for, like, a lot of the movie, too. Like, she's protecting the kid. That's a really cool reversal from the first movie. I think I mentioned that earlier.
Well,
I like that stuff.
Yeah, that's where it paid off. You're saying, wow, them taking the kid into the wasteland or taking the kid. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it was a weird thing to happen, but I enjoyed those two characters going on a journey together. That really worked well.
No, the kid didn't feel like dead weight through that whole thing either. She was able to keep up pretty good, so that was good. The part that got to me finally on that one was they're in the labyrinth underneath that, like her love interest just died and they're just completely fucking lost, and like the kid after hours or maybe days is finally like, Auntie, I'm tired. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. They're actually like showing that this kid really went the distance, but it's like hitting her physical limits here. That was good. I liked that moment.
I need a piggyback right now.
Well, and the scene also where Maggie Chung is spraying the water in the house, that actually made me uncomfortable. Just the idea of somebody's taking a hose and spraying it inside the house. I get that water's a precious resource and they're celebrating, but I was just thinking like all the damage she's doing to the house.
I was upset on spraying in the house, and you're wasting all this water.
I'm worried about the wood. The wood. I
spent a lot of my childhood in a desert. I'm like, you can't waste water.
Yeah, then they had a bath together right after that and grabbed each other's boobs. Did we mention that? That was like the first scene in this movie.
Somehow I forgot that. I'm kind of
I don't think I'll ever forget that scene.
They didn't they didn't grab each other's boobs in that scene.
They literally did. Look at the dialogue. They're talking about squeezing each other's boobs.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was done. It was done sweetly. But
it's subtle, but there's boob grabbing.
Okay. Well,
my boob jar went off.
But either way, I think that the spraying of the hose was just too much for me.
Yeah, that was definitely the line.
Well, it just, I don't know. I just.
I felt like I believe that Maggie Cheung's character would do that, but I feel like Wonder Woman would have been like, "Hey, what are you doing in my house?" I feel like there should have just been not like a serious drama around it, but I feel like there should have been some pushback there.
I would say that she probably should have chastised her at all. She wound up being kind of delighted by it, which is also, I mean, okay. People don't always behave like you expect they will, but yeah, I think a little bit of.
Well, it was Christmas.
Well, she could have been amusing.
Oh yeah,
chastising her. Sometimes you're kind of like, you can find it amusing at the same. Okay, this is funny, but
I
did like the political elements of the movie and the coup. I thought the coup was really well done. They even had like the president's double and everything, which
that was a cool scene. I like when the president's double walked in and they're like, "Okay, take that guy and run."
Yeah, it was fun. I like the presidential double, just realizing what his job was and not being very happy about it. It's like, I'm bait.
I felt like they were drawing a lot on Warlord era films. Do you know what I mean? Like they had that like, I feel like they have this like, this history, but also there's a lot of movies that are set during, like, martial arts movies set during the Warlord era. And so to me, the coup felt very believable. The general character felt like all of the politics of it, for what it was, felt more believable than I think if it had been like, an apocalyptic American movie. Do you know what I mean? It just had it just felt a little more grounded to me, with the way that they handled that aspect of it.
Well, it's interesting that the post-apocalypse wound up being such a politicized thing in this movie. A lot of movies, like Mad Max again, like, it's more of a personal thing, right? Here, it's more of a societal thing. It's about, well, how is this influencing society? What does this mean about the world we live in? So I thought that was kind of interesting as I was getting into it. I honestly thought there'd be a lot more. We go into the wastes and kick-ass stuff, but they really didn't have that. It was a political drama.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptia as like this.
There's still infrastructure.
Cause.
There's still infrastructure. There's, he's still got his job. There's a general controlling things. There's a president. There's Mr. Kim with the water company.
I mean, it's to bring back the Mad Max analogy, it's the original Mad Max movie where you've got the last teetering remains of civilization still standing. So. And
that's but yeah, I don't know. I thought that worked. I liked the Eddie Ko character, the president's deputy, who was kind of like the nice guy.
Oh yeah, he was cool.
What was interesting is, though, he's got this one scene. I don't know if these are like just hospital attendants or nurses or nuns, but they have like the head garb on. Yeah. But he shoots these women because nobody can know about the president's double. And
they gotta die.
But it's like you think, okay, they're revealing him for what he is, and now he's going to become this more ruthless character. But that's just one moment in the movie.
Pragmatism. It's kind of similar to I won't give away specifics, but it's very similar. Reminded me of a scene near the end of Killer Klans, which I'm sure Brendan knows the scene I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but they did stuff similar to that in the first movie, like whenever they had to kill all the mutilated, rejected emperor children who were turning into monsters. Like, they blow them all up, and it's like, well, yep.
But these were like nuns at the hospital or something, or nurses. At the hospital.
They were innocent, but
were being helpful
and too much.
Especially because it was a secret that only needed to be kept for like a day. You could have locked them in a room for 24 hours, and it no longer would have even mattered.
Yeah, so. Hey, come with us. Just come with us until the heat dies down on this.
It's not like it was the location of the pharaoh's tomb or something that needed to be preserved for eternity.
Well, also, if you came into a hospital room full of enough people to save the president's life after a gunshot wound, and they were all killed by bullets from the president's right-hand man's gun, you could probably put two and two together real quick if you were really looking for the president. Like, they didn't make the secret less secret. It's exactly the same amount of secret that it was before, and that anybody can figure this out.
But I liked how tired the president's double was getting too, of just being used as bait.
Yeah.
He just wanted to go into hiding, and she's like going through all these checkpoints so that everybody is like thinks that they're on the heels of the president.
That's pretty
you're gonna take a job as the president's double. You gotta take everything that comes with it.
It's not the best job, but it is your job.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of fun. Geez, I like the here's another thing that we haven't talked about yet. There's another kung fu guy with super fists in this movie, and I like that he's got really dangerous kung fu and he can like punch through a brick wall.
Oh yeah.
But they beat him by like just raising their car off the ground where his fists can't connect anymore, and he's so frustrated that he takes the door he turned off, but he pulled off of it, and he squishes it into a little ball. That was really great.
He was a pretty terrifying character because he's got that outfit too, with the hat and the jacket and everything. He just looked kind of intimidating.
Yeah, he's got excellent goon energy, and A+ goon on this guy.
I love the fight with the general on the I don't know if it was power wires or what it was, but just that sort of fight in the air with the general, and obviously the final battle I thought was tremendous.
The final battle was incredible. I love the recurrence of that church, although I wonder what they were trying to get across with that setting, because they take you there a few times in the movie, that same church, and I was like, well, that's interesting iconography. There's a giant cross on the wall. What does that mean?
A lot of the movies have obviously there's like a lot of different religions there, but in the in a number of the Hong Kong movies, there'll be like, Christian churches or, Christian imagery. So I think that's just sort of what they were leaning into here. Kind of like, what is it?
This is riveting entertaining.
Sorry, A Moment of Romance. It's like there's a little bit of Christian imagery in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the church was it was an interesting venue for the fight, and I liked when he's pushing the car, just to convey the guy's sheer power, that he can just demolish people by pushing a car into them in that way. And also the fact that Mr. Kim is just showing up personally for all of these, he doesn't have to do this, I don't think, but he's like, he's showing up and doing all of these little jobs himself, or when in a lot of cases it seems like he didn't really need to do that.
He's that kind of hands-on leader. I'm telling you, 4 more years, I'd vote for
him. But anyways, I thought that was a good finale. I don't know. Any more thoughts on the movie?
Oh goodness, we got to pick this one clean, didn't we?
I think so.
It's not a deep movie. I enjoyed it. It's but there's not a lot of subtext to it or anything.
That's kind of nice. Sometimes it's just nice when a movie just delivers what it is to you.
Yeah, it's not a criticism. Just why we're running out of things to say about it.
I am glad that they gave these 2 movies the Criterion treatment. I think that's nice.
Yeah, it looks very nice. And it's
it's
a very stylish movie. I mean, clearly it's not a big budget movie or anything, but it looks. They do a really nice job with what they have in this movie.
Yeah, no, it's a I would say kind of like essential stuff from this era if you like this style of movie, and it's and they're unique enough that they're different from a lot of the other films from that period. So
yeah, this came out around the time of like Bride with White Hair and stuff like that, didn't it? Like it's that same like kind of 90s era. Yeah, it definitely looks like that to me.
I mean, that's my favorite wuxia period, is that 90s period.
Good
there's just
stuff.
A lot of really interesting stuff, and there's like an intensity to it, and just like I said, like the stuff just the action in a movie like this is in my opinion so much better than we were putting out at that period. Do you know what I mean? So like, you could see this, and it was just like, wow, this is unbelievable what they're doing. Compared to. Like, we would have a lot of the same stunts, but they would be done differently. You know what I mean? And they would still be good in our movies, but like I like Commando, which, and this is going back to the 80s, but you watch that first scene with the the car going down the hill in Commando, and you compare it to the Police Story scene that does sort of the same thing, and the Police Story scene is just way more intense to me than the Commando one's kind of more cartoonish or something.
Yeah, I mean, to make a comparison, I mean, we're talking about a superhero movie here. It's like, as far as just looking at purely action scenes, like the Burton Batman movies have nothing in comparison to the action scenes in
this. Well, there's one comparison. At the very end of the very first Batman movie, right before he fights the Joker in the big clock tower thing, there's a kung fu guy that flips out and fights him with swords.
I've kind of forgotten that, actually.
Was that the 1989 Batman movie?
Yeah, the 89 movie.
I mean, I have a feeling that movie probably did have an influence on...
Oh, I think it did. Well, that final shot, that kind of set they have at the final scene, and everything, it's like, that felt like one of the sets from Batman. That felt like one of the Gotham sets, that particular one. So I do think there was an influence. Yeah, I was just talking purely about action. I mean, not the... obviously, the Batman Burton movies have great atmosphere. No question about that.
Yeah, no, the atmosphere is fantastic in those movies. The action is somewhat lacking. Some of it's pretty decent, but there's very few... There's just very little that can physically threaten Batman in those films because he's such a powerhouse. So they just put a ninja in there.
He also had this standpoint that he had the completely inflexible costume too, so where he couldn't even turn his head, which really kind of limits your choreography.
Though I think the big things that set it apart are the way they edited their action scenes, the way that they were just pretty fearless in terms of putting people into potentially dangerous situations on camera. Do you know what I mean? If you get an American movie, you'd probably have to go through so much paperwork just to even get anything like that done. There's an interview on the Criterion Collection movie with Anthony Wong, and he's talking about, number one, the way that they would fight in order to have it show up correctly on the camera, and he was talking about the difference between if I was really punching a person, I would do it this way versus I would do it this way so that the camera can see the punch. And it was there's some interesting commentary on that, but he also talks about how dangerous the wire work could be in these movies.
Mm-hmm. There's an interview with Wesley Snipes when they were talking about Demolition Man, where they told him they had to slow down his punches and kicks because the camera couldn't get them. So that's a real thing. If you're fighting for a camera, you've got to go do it very, very differently.
Yeah, because I think the film speed, right? It just kind of it's too quick. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I thought this was a good movie. I think the first one is stronger, but I think they're both solid films, and I think that it's nice that you have, all three of these actresses together. And I think, again, I think the theme song is the killer on this. That's really the thing that kind of gets, that's my one complaint about this movie is you don't get quite as much of the theme song in this film, and I feel like its absence is felt. But you get it eventually. When you do, it's sort of okay, here we go. But yeah. So, and again, this one is on Prime. You can, I think, can you buy it, or what's the situation?
You could buy it on Prime too. Yeah, I rented it.
Sorry about that. And also it's on Blu-ray. This is one that I might even recommend getting because I got it on DVD ages ago, and it was instantly very hard to get. Do you know what I mean? And I remember I eventually tracked down sometimes these movies there's a Korean production company that makes makes DVDs of these movies and Blu-rays, and I have either a DVD or a Blu-ray box set of both of them that I managed to get. I don't remember how many years ago, but it's not. I don't think that these are the kind of movies that you think that they're always going to be around because the Criterion Collection makes it. They're not. Get them when you can. Or you're going to pay $80 for a used copy somewhere, or you're just going to have to get a bootleg. So I guess we'll end it there. And I know upcoming we're going to be doing some Cheng Pei movies because she passed away recently. So we're going to have some Cheng Pei discussions in the near future.
It's a bit of a heartbreaker, but I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of her movies because I really like Chang Pei Pei.
Yeah, she's really good, and I did a Thundering Sword discussion the other day just because I decided to kind of start rewatching them in order, and so I'm looking forward to getting to some of the others. But yeah, so we'll be back with those, and until next time, we will talk to you later.